I feel like sometimes when I feel the grace coming through me, my body jerks and resists it moving through, and sometimes my emotion resists it moving through. Any suggestions to help me allow and surrender to grace?
Mm-hmm. I know, we're completely insane, aren't we? It's incredible grace coming through, and no, that's too good. you know. And it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Well, continually aligning yourself with grace will continue to support the alignment with that, to help you in those very moments, or praying for grace with those moments, can be helpful. I came to it from the, elbow grease, working, sweating kind of place of meeting each moment and that fierce willingness to surrender. And so that muscle has been developed in me because of the continual commitment to surrendering in each small moment. So you can practice. So for me, that's when those moments happen where there's an amazing grace moving through and there's some piece of resistance. My system is practiced at feeling the contraction and just taking a breath and just surrendering and letting that resistance go, no matter how uncomfortable it is. So one way is practice. And practicing from the smallest things to the more challenging ones. So a small thing, someone cuts you in line in the grocery store, and you feel a rising of irritation, or a rising of judgment, or feeling condescending, and feeling the rising of that feeling and the contraction of it into its form, into its geometry, into its frequency, that resonance of judgment, or that irritation, and then identity goes with it. So it's like all these parts come together. There's a thought, an emotional response, and then another response, and they seem to happen really quick, but they're actually different aspects of your being, all creating together to create a reality. So if you take this one example, it might be easy to just, it'll bug you for a few minutes and then you kind of cast it off. But if you use that as an opportunity to practice, to notice the rising of it, the contracting of it, your identity in it, you're better than they are, which is why you can judge that idea. There's a separation happening. And when you can feel that arising in that moment, instead of just casting it aside, allow your awareness to undo what was just made. So to feel the resolving, the letting go of your identity in that, the letting go of the judgment. It's like a relaxing, it's a softening. So that's all that's all I'm ever talking about when I'm, talking about that meeting the moment fully and then that letting go. That's like the rising of the judgment and irritation is sort of like a movement, like a fist kind of grabbing. It's like coming into form and then holding itself as that idea or an opinion or experience. And if you hold it the rest of the day, then you're going to want to talk about it. I couldn't believe it. This person cut me off on the line, right? It's been formed, and then it's part of your reality and you're holding it. So the practice is in that moment when it's happening in the line at the grocery store. It's like letting things slow down and noticing the quality of that constricting happening to form that thought, and just soften backwards the other direction. Just letting that go backwards. And if you practice that, you'll get good at it. And your system then starts to recognize pain ahead of time. A judgment starts to form and your system recognizes, ooh, that's painful. It's painful to form that in your own field. And so you start to learn to not do that. So the hand, that grip, lets go sooner. It starts to arise, you catch it. It doesn't even grip. I can't believe, yeah, I can believe. Okay, that's what's happening. You know? So it's excellent practice for the moment. And once you know that sensation, it's the same thing with previous experience. So let's say you get triggered in a relationship. That person's doing that again, right? Same recapitulated grasp. It's just that it's been held so long that it just keeps repeating itself. So when it happens and it seems like this keeps happening, that when there's a frequency to it, it means that there's a deeper fist in you to let go. But you can let go the exact same way. You just have to stay present. You have to stay present with the uncomfortable feeling to fully meet it in order for it to do its backwards letting go, resolution, doing, not doing, that happening of letting go. So I'm going to name 3 parts here. So the first one is practicing when it's happening in the moment with something that doesn't matter so much, but that gets you, right? It's got to have that emotional juice to it, otherwise you wouldn't grip it, right? So practicing with those to support the letting go of the emotional piece as well. And then taking that same skill towards deeper ones when it seems to be a repetitive pattern in your life. Again, there's a deeper grasp somewhere in yourself. And so to practice meeting those with that same awareness of the grip and the letting go. So those are 2 parts. And the third part, when you are in a deep meditation, meeting bliss, unconditional love, absolute grace, infinite nothing, when you start opening to these deeper truths, multiple fists, multiple grasps of your consciousness are met with truth at the same time. And so the overwhelm comes from consciousness being identified in multiple places, being asked to let go all at once. The more practiced you are at letting go of one at a time, the easier it will be to let go of many of those at once when you have a deep opening experience. So when grace comes through and the resistance comes up, it's just because there are multiple places that there's attachment, there's identity attached to some story or outcome. And they don't have to be conscious in your mind at all. Grace is just going to come through and see everything and shine that light on everything. It's the reason that people can have profound awakenings and open to this infinite truth, and then an hour later, a day later, a week later, a month later, old patterns are back and holding, and the person can wonder, how did that happen? What's wrong with me? You know, I want an abiding awakening, not this little short-term thing that was great and then leaves one wanting or thinking something's wrong with you. You know, there's nothing wrong. that's the nature of it. We open to the deeper truth, which is infinite, which is all-inclusive, and that truth touches every single part of your consciousness because it's not separate. So it shines light and truth on every contraction. And the opportunity is in that surrender, that letting go. So the more you practice the day-to-day and the little things, that'll strengthen your ability to let go in the ones that kind of get you more, that feel a little more core. And then that supports you surrendering more when those deeper expansions are gifted, when grace moves through. So thank you for your question. I don't know that I've articulated this, organized in this way before. So it seems particularly useful to kind of name it in this way for people. So thank you so much for your question.